Hey, welcome to Geek Freaks. I am Frank, and today I'm joined by Jonathan.
Well, hello.
We got a bunch to talk about today, including an interview with Ken Maney from ODPH. A couple announcements. BlizzCon has been officially confirmed for September 12th to 13th. The team has already got our tickets. We bought our tickets. We were all, people are at work in the bathrooms buying tickets on the phone. Is there a chance of you going with us, Jonathan?
I don't know. I really don't think so. It's just too big of a trip.
It is a big trip. So first off, it's 12th and 13th. So I know it's not on your anniversary now because we thought it was the week after. But if you change your mind, you gotta experience this once in your life, man. It's just such an experience. Incredible.
Yeah.
SF Fan Expo, we're going to be going on Saturday, November 29th, instead of the 3 days. So if you guys want to come and see Fan Expo or whatever, we suggest on the 29th. It's when they're going to have a lot of the people there. Some really cool old school people that are going to be there. The Fonz is going to be there. Henry Winkler.
Nice.
Christopher Lloyd. I like all the old people that are going. There's a lot of younger people too, but whatever.
Right.
Lastly, for our patrons, please make sure you guys confirm your address. In December, we're going to be sending out holiday packages. We did it for our anniversary, for the 7th year anniversary, and I liked how it turned out. That was a really good way of doing it. Because we get so much stuff from Paramount or from people that we work with, and it's like, well, what do I do with this stuff? Normally I send it out. Let's send it out for the holidays, or let's send it out for certain events. So we're going to be doing another care package going out for the holidays. So make sure you guys confirm your address on Patreon that I have the up-to-date one. Because a lot of you guys move, and then I have to confirm with you. Jonathan, this week you got the question for us. What is it?
Yes, I got a pretty good one.
Yeah, you did.
I don't know if I have it worded right, but what movie do you think was better in the sequel versus the original?
Yeah.
I know that's kind of, and it could be like the third one or whatever, but
Yeah. So Squeaks and I usually joke about oh, John's got 3 of them. Oh my God. When I'm on the other side of it, I was like, I have 3 of them, but I'm only going to use one. But if we need more later on, you guys let me know. But I narrowed it. I think the one I have to go with for sure is Thor. I know you disagree with me on this, but I think Thor 3 Ragnarok is the best of the first 3 and probably the best of all of them. And I really feel like they changed the tone in a really good way. While I do agree they've gotten away from the first 2 movies a little too much, the grounded tone of those ones, I think that the more comedic side of Thor and stuff all benefits the movie. And so, yeah, I would have to say Thor got better over time. And I know you disagree on that one.
That's so funny. Yeah, that version of Thor is not the one I'm interested in at all. That comedy Thor, to be the first 2 are so much better because he's that God character. But anyway.
Which, and is not very comic book accurate either. Thor is more often like the first 2 than he is those second 2. But I think MCU Thor fits really well,
Well, see, that's where I thought they had Peter Quill was perfect to fit that comedy kind of prankster role.
Yeah.
And then they decided to change a serious, noble character to fill that role also. So it's like you have 2 brothers playing the same, spot. And it's like, well, we don't need 2 funny, whimsical, unless from now on they're going to be competing for that prankster spot. Then okay, that'd be kind of funny to see that.
Yeah, it's really common, especially in Marvel comics, that they have witty one-liners. Like Reed Richards does, Doctor Strange has those, Tony Stark has those, like the witty jokes. It's just how much they make that part of their actual character. And Spider-Man notoriously is like one of them. And then even beyond that's Deadpool.
Well, and so, for sure, Deadpool.
Right. And so it makes sense that they want to have some of those characters around. Star-Lord is one of them, but Star-Lord's so forgettable comic book wise. And I think that's one of the things where they were kind of like, well, if we make kind of the funnier character who happens to also be like God tier strong, it's best that it's one of our main 3, and then because I think what was happening is they were starting to see that with the events of Endgame and stuff, or not Endgame, I'm sorry. Yeah, Endgame. Iron Man was becoming a very serious character. He was making the sacrifices. So they were kind of like, well, we're losing a lot of the comedy now, so it's like, let's shift it over here. Just a thought,
Yeah, I like it.
What about you,
so
Jonathan?
I have a few.
It was your question and you still got the few.
Oh yeah, for sure. I wasn't trying to just pick one because there's just too many. They're not even, I was gonna say they're wide different categories. One of them is a different category, but the first one I'm gonna go with is Dark Knight. how amazing did Heath Ledger's Joker elevate Batman and the whole Batman franchise. So.
Oh my! And Batman Begins is good. Everybody forgets about Batman Begins, but man, that it's because the Dark Knight is that good.
Yeah. The Dark Knight put Batman back on the map and made it was just like a whole new,
God, the amount of times I start that movie and just settle in with that like bake heist in the beginning. It's like, oh, we are in for a good movie.
Right. Another one is Mad Max Fury Road. Was that not like, that's so much better than the original?
Frankly,
to me.
Every sequel in that franchise has been better than the originals. Like, that's a really good call. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Okay, and this will be my last one, is X2, the X-Men sequel.
On my list.
United. Yes. That is one of my favorite movies in general because Magneto is such a badass in that movie. But I was like, I don't remember even watching the first X-Men when you think back to X2. It's like, that's the X-Men movie that they made back then. So
X2 is so fantastic because it also goes into like what formed Wolverine, his backstory a little bit stuff. Yeah, that's actually on my list as well. X-Men and X2. Yeah. Good pick, Jonathan. Dang. All right, that was a good question. We got to have you make up the questions more often. That was clean. That was good.
Yeah.
I know one of the things when I'm making up the questions for these things, sometimes it's like, I think we've done everything. So then I'm having to like really get kind of like, if you were to form this kind of team with this kind of thing, like I have to like do too many caveats.
Make them complicated. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's dig into the news. And we have a short news section because we have a really good interview and stuff like that. But first off, Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz are returning for the Mummy movie. I had the pleasure of just rewatching this for Challenge Accepted, the first Mummy movie, and I was like, damn, I forgot how just well-crafted and solid this flick is. When's the last time you watched The Mummy?
Oh, as probably a teenager. I probably watched it like within a few years of it coming out. Then I don't think I've seen it since then. But I've heard people mention the CGI is a little rough compared to now. Yes. Obviously, it's aged, like all CGI did. Maybe not as bad as the Garfield movie, but which was bad when it first came out. But aside from that, I remember most of the story was really good. And it reminds me a lot of like the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Like I think the Pirates of the Caribbean came out just a couple years after this series ended. But that same kind of adventure, maybe Indiana Jones too, but like a more modern version.
But I think you're right. I think this fit that gap. I think that we didn't have to have new mummies because we had Pirates of the Caribbean. So that kind of adventure movie that the whole family can go to.
If these continued, though, that definitely would have been the competition. Would be those two head to head. Would have been cool to see. But yeah, so I'm excited to see that we got a new one coming though.
Yeah, the key with these is there are definitely scary moments, and I had forgotten that there were scary moments, but there's like mummies coming back to life, undead.
Yeah.
But the kind of the witty back and forth and the swashbuckling and stuff like that, it just makes it fun for everybody to go watch. You don't have to necessarily worry about your kids seeing this in the same way, like you're saying with Pirates of the Caribbean or even with Indiana Jones. And I think we're kind of entering into that because there's the ebb and flow of Hollywood all the time of what movies are in and out. And I think we're headed back into those where we saw like Skeleton Crew come up for Star Wars and then just like fun adventure flicks again. Is there anything that you feel that kind of fit that narrative right now? Is there a movie right now that you could take the entire family out to and it doesn't feel like you're watching a kid's movie, but it also doesn't feel like you have to worry about the kids?
My son's only 4, so obviously there's a lot of stuff he can't watch. But like we went outside, like Superman was great, but it's not a scary movie in any way.
Yeah, I want to kind of like anything that's not a superhero movie, because you can kind of say that with all of the Marvel movies, but it's like, Marvel movies are a formula though,
Yeah. Yeah, I can't think of anything that's kind of in that area yet. And I do like that these type of movies have more, I think, drama and better writing than what we've seen lately. Because lately, I think it might have been after the zombie phase, where it was like, well, we just want actually more gore and like less story is fine, but we need a little bit more, explosions and car chases, but for horror movies. And it's like, that's cool. Like, I think we've gotten our fix of that though. And I think we want to get back to a little bit more writing, a little bit deeper story. And I like it, in this, they explain the kind of the technobabble, the science, but it's more like the magic behind why the mummy's coming back to life and stuff. Like, yes, please explain these things in a way that you can convince me with logic that doesn't truly exist. That's fine. Or if it does, I don't know. but you could make up the rules of witchcraft if you need to.
Yeah. Some gold scarab is wrong place.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I'm in. Yeah.
Yeah. Make up the rules, show me the boundaries, push the boundaries, and then maybe the hero will break the boundaries to save the team or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, that's great. But a lot of movies I see these days just don't seem to even try to do that. They'll just make it really simple and just flash and scare to sell the tickets, and that's disappointing. I want to see more, deep dramas with, a lot more thought behind it.
Yeah, I just thought of another one that they're actually making right now is National Treasure. That's another one that's kind of like this.
Oh yeah, that would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're getting another one of those two down the pipeline. I'm hoping so. We don't know the director. We don't know when it takes place. We know that the original two actors are coming back. So I think they're going to use this time to pass on the torch. And Indy's tried to do this a few times and has not worked. But I think that this is a good time to keep Brendan Fraser is at his top of the game again. Who knew? Who knew that in 2025 he was going to be so valuable? He is.
Yeah.
But use this time to find some unknown kids to hand this torch to. Do not pick stars. We don't need stars. We have enough of them.
Yeah.
Pick somebody unknown.
Do you think this would be like picking a new solo lead character like he was in the first movie, or make a ragtag group like we've seen in a lot of stuff now too? With Stranger
I like
Things?
the ragtag group thing, because then these two could stick around as kind of their mentors the entire time. I like that idea, John. It changes the movie a little bit, but also
kind of matches with modern trends.
Right, and we're in different eras right now, so it's fine. It's not like you're having to pick your new guy. And also, like with Indiana Jones, like it's named after that character, so you kind of need to. And this is just the Mummy, so it's named after the bad guy. And I like that idea, Jonathan. That's cool.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
Yeah,
I don't know, but it again, like I don't know how far this series can go story wise. Like, how many tombs can you uncover? Or will it kind of shift into something else?
Well, I think like Tomb Raider, for example, with those games, it might be called The Mummy, but not necessarily always the same area. So maybe there are. I know that the third movie, which they're actually negating the canon of the third movie. They said, we're not going to talk about the third movie. That never happened. We're going off the second movie. So the first two movies are what they're using, not the third.
So I looked it up though. There's two movies. The third one that's getting negated, but Scorpion King was after all those, right?
Scorpion King's a spinoff.
Oh, it's a separate movie. Okay.
It is in this world. It's the same character, but it's his own movie. So The Rock's character's from The Mummy Returns, and they gave him his own movie to explain who the Scorpion King is.
Okay. I didn't realize that. So it's like, it's more of a prequel then, right?
Kind of for that character specifically, yeah. Because we get to see him become the strong Scorpion King.
Yeah.
And it was one of The Rock's first like acting roles,
Yeah. I don't remember much of the story of that one either. I remember the CGI was pretty rough.
Even for the day. Well, I remember when we were watching, we were like, that's pretty bad. But, we're learning.
Like video game level at that age, at that day. But yeah.
So, but what we could do is like, hey, it's called The Mummy, or it's that franchise or whatever. But this time we're going to explore the jungles, the Mayan jungles. Or this time we're going over to ancient China, and stuff like that. So it doesn't necessarily have to stick with Egypt. I think that's a way to really open this up. I know that the term The Mummy really throws that off, but I just would rather see these people have adventures across the entire globe.
Yeah. And what I think would tie well to make it all kind of cohesive with the concept of The Mummy is their main villain they'll be chasing throughout these movies from land to land is trying to resurrect the dead.
I like
It'd
that.
Be, something that can be ongoing, and they're pursuing him, and then they get there, oh crap, we're too late. Now we got to fight this undead army and escape, and we got to get that special talisman that he's using or something like that. That's the whole deal.
We're writing them up, man. And as long as we have that like kind of like big set pieces, some physical, practical effects, and whatever culture you're going to use, even if it is Egypt again, I like to see. I'm a sucker for it. Give me the big headdresses or whatever. The big scarabs and everything like that. Just bring us back to those kind of days that we used to watch movies like that. So if you go Aztec and Mayan, they have some of the coolest like chunky gold pieces and earrings and stuff. Like that's so dope looking. Let's get those all back.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, moving on to next one here. K-Pop Demon Hunter has a sequel. It's gonna be targeting 2029. Yeah. Man, it feels like forever for this movie to come out.
Yes, and that was such a good movie too. I'm glad you convinced me eventually to try and watch it. And it was so good. I was actually surprised during Halloween I didn't see more kids dressed as it. Though I probably saw 10 or 15 kids dressed in that, but I'm surprised there wasn't more. But yeah, I'm stoked to see another one. I just hope they put the same effort into it that they did the first one.
Yeah.
I don't know how it became such a surprise hit. You know, the music alone, you'd think is all right. That's going to be a banger, but
the reason it was a surprise hit is because Sony sold a batch of like 4 movies to Netflix because they were like, you know, man, animation's not doing well right now, so they just kind of like, we're whatever, we'll sell these off to you guys. Mitchell's in the Machines. I don't know. I know you probably watched that at parents' house. That was one of them.
Yeah, so I half it, I think.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. But this is part of it. And then they found this new strength on Netflix, and even Mitchell's and the Machines getting a sequel too. And so now the two companies are working together on these next batches. A lot of that was because Netflix saw the strength of Spider-Verse movies, which is the same animation studio as this. So they're like, okay, look, this is all just, there is a hunger for good animation. And I think that hits. I think with the sequel in this one, now that it has the hype behind it, I mean, Golden just got nominated for an Emmy. So that shows you where we're at with this thing. Yeah. I think we're going to actually see some collabs in this next one. I think we're going to see, I don't know, I'm going to throw out some names. This is totally not how hip I am. Taylor Swift or whatever is going to like partner with them or something like that. Maybe she'll have a character in this world. Can you see that happening?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's all numbers and money for in the big picture. So they're going to try to see what they can do to really put a big name with this. Probably that would make sense. But I'm here for it. I'll listen to all of them anyways.
Yeah. And I would like to explore, you know, who her dad is, who Rummy's dad is, because she's part demon. How'd that happen? You know, there's got to be, you know, she obviously her mom was attracted to a demon just like she's attracted to a demon. And so there's got to be a history there. Let's explore that. And there's going to be a mini movie or mini story coming out at some point in between all this. The long runway on this thing is because animation takes so long. So unfortunate that it's coming out in 2029, but also if it were any sooner, we'd be worried because we're like, wait a minute, how are you guys ready to make an anime for a movie you thought was going to flop? You know, it's a little crazy.
So do you think this will be a prequel that shows her mom's struggle and her mom being, because her mom was a huntress too, right?
Yes, they all have. She died.
And her mentor is the only huntress that's still around.
Right, which is part of the trio from the original, or from the band right before hers. Yeah. Her mom was part of that band, that girl group.
And so her mom must have died, but her mom's probably only like 40 years old if they start singing it, you know, late teens, early 20s. And then the next generation took over. So yeah, that'd be interesting to see. I don't see
a full prequel, but I do see it kind of exploring why her mom maybe died. And then, because like these trios like this K-pop group, but before that they were like the Spice Girls was the mom and the other ones. Like that's their era. And so like if you watch the very beginning of the movie, it goes through like these different eras of like the kinds of music they were doing as well. And so let's see what the Spice Girls, the 90s version, what had killed one of them off. And that might be really fun to explore. And it probably was related to her dad, who is this demon somewhere who's trying to do something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool if they show the love story of her parents and stuff. And she can, now that she's, didn't she bridge the divide or something like that? Make it to where, I don't remember how it ended.
She sealed off the Hanun, Hanun or something like that?
Hanmun?
Yeah, she sealed it off. But she is still part demon and able to go back and forth. And or I'm sure it would be able to go back and forth being part demon.
So she'll be like the Avatar.
Yes,
the bridge between the two worlds.
Yeah, she uncorified the world. You know, Korra messed up Avatar. Poor thing. Everybody hates her so much because of that.
So it'll be interesting because then maybe she could find her dad, you know, who's a demon, possibly still alive, and you know, figure out like, I don't know, connect with him, I guess.
Yeah,
I like it. We're writing it, man.
We're good at this. We're good at this, guys.
2029. We'll have it next year, guys. Just use us and some
hand
AI.
drawings of like, this is a karate punch.
Right.
Somebody. So I like Bad Bunny, and I'm excited for Bad Bunny to do the halftime show for the Super Bowl. Yeah. But somebody was like, you know, who'd be probably more popular than Bad Bunny is if you got Hunter X.
Dang.
Could you imagine that entire stadium with like golden?
Did you call it Hunter X?
Huntrix. Sorry.
Huntrix. Okay.
My bad.
Like, maybe I've been saying it wrong.
No, you're saying it right, and I'm ancient. I see it spelled out Hunter-X. So it's like, then it said Hunter X, everybody, but I know that it's Huntrix. I'm sorry.
I gotcha. But yes, that would be cool. And I think if that was the choice, if you know the people involved said, oh yeah, there's anger about Bad Bunny, we're gonna switch it for Huntrix, that would probably be the only one you could switch it to, that people wouldn't be more outraged about.
Right.
for the swap. That or maybe Taylor Swift.
So maybe for 2029, now people will find a reason to claim about Taylor Swift, but maybe for like 2029 when this one's coming out, we could get Huntrix planned for, because then nobody saw this coming. So they, the movie is blowing up and they're like, but man, to think of that arena, and then because they have so many lighting effects, like actually showing like this golden glow go over the fans would be really cool. Like they're sealing it right then. Like, oh my God, that'd be so dope.
Yeah, we got pitches to the NFL.
Grand Theft Auto, game we're all waiting for, Grand Theft Auto 6, now moved to November 19th, 2026. This is the second delay. It was coming out this year, then it was like May, now November. And don't hold your breath, guys. It'll likely be delayed again. It's important that this thing is delayed, and now let me explain why. I have a feeling this game is going to impact the economy, not gaming economy. I'm talking about the United States economy. People are going to take the days off. I mean, Daniel's taking a week off for World of Warcraft. There's a lot of people who do that for Grand Theft Auto. People take the days off. There's going to be merch related to GTA. There's going to be industries all built around, sharing news and stuff about GTA. And of course, in the gaming world itself, it's the number one selling game, and it came out in 2013. It's huge. So I think it's important that they get this right, because too many times a game comes out and it's flawed in some way, bugs or whatever, and we're going to talk about more of that in a second. And suddenly, like, it puts a bad name on it. This has to come out flawless. It has to come out perfect, because it doesn't have that grace period. It doesn't have that. It has to be immediately a hit, and when it comes out, it has to be on the top of everybody's minds. It's one of those things where I always love when I hear from somebody who's like, "Oh, are you going to that Comic-Con I saw on the news?" Because like San Diego Comic-Con makes it onto like Good Morning America because it's that big of a thing. And this is one of those things where it's like they're going to talk about Grand Theft Auto on Good Morning America or The View. And so like your grandparents are going to know about Grand Theft Auto coming out. It's that big of a game.
Yeah, well, I think it, like you're saying, it's huge. It's an iconic game. I mean, our whole generation grew up with it, and it's already been passed to the next generation. So it's definitely, like you're saying, going to have a big impact on the economy. But I agree, it needs to be handled carefully, because people flip a switch. If there's something that, doesn't sound right, doesn't look right, it doesn't take a lot of people with our, cancel culture and stuff for people to just be like, oh yeah, don't even waste your time. Don't even spend money on it because it's terrible. And then it'll just exponentially tank. It's just terrible. And we don't want to see that. We like it. We want it to be a good game. So yeah, you find bugs, you find reasons that it can't come out. We're not spending money on it right now. We're talking about it and building a little bit of suspense behind it, but it's not costing us money for it to be delayed. So let it be delayed. It's costing them money in production. And if they see the cost benefit, analysis shows that it's worth spending an extra 6 months to work on it so that we can get it out right, then obviously, they're not being greedy. They're being patient to make sure that they're not putting out poor quality. So I think it's worth it for sure. If it takes more delays, delay it as long as it needs to. If you guys as the professionals, think it needs more work, then keep working on it. And I would hesitate to even have, like, do you think we can have beta testing for a game like this that's so popular? Because imagine the leaks that would come out.
It'll be all testing. Internal. Yeah, everything's NDA signed and stuff like that. It's too big for that. One of the funny things is much like an Avengers movie, not a Marvel movie, but an Avengers movie, scheduling has to be done for other studios around it. This is like that. So when this comes out, there will be movie studios that wants to make sure their movies are not coming out the same week as GTA. There will be, of course, games that are like
for people to play. Yeah.
So many games will be like, we can't be out in that month or year because we don't want to compete against GTA and the awards at the end of the year. So it's going to be one of those things where it will shift the schedule of everything else whenever it moves. So it kind of needs to have a solid date, because we've already seen things shift away from it already. And as it moves, it's like we have to give it a wide berth. And if it keeps moving around, it makes it harder and harder for the industries to plan around that,
That's true. Yeah. For that reason, they should try to pick a date, even if they have to say, we might need to push it back another 6 months or another year. Okay, let's just pick a farther date, give ourselves extra time. And then, so that other industries or other game developers aren't having to move around. Though, I don't know, it doesn't hurt them that other game developers are struggling because of their power, right?
Right.
Because of their shifting weight. So they probably want to see other developers, try to release their game in the same weekend as us, and let's see how quickly you're squashed. And you guys don't do good, we'll buy you up.
there is a very malicious idea of that, but for the most part, games do try to avoid each other if they can. It's just that they don't usually give a game as big of a berth as this one will. Like this one, people are going to want to stay a month or 2 or 3 away from this game if they can, especially afterwards. And then marketing wise too, as this game gets closer to release, we're going to start seeing a ramp up in marketing that'll see it become the talk of the town. I can already foretell the news stories about people waiting outside for physical copies. Like it will be that big of a game. This is one of those games where collector's editions will be the norm. People are going to want collector's editions because it's a game that just because it's such a standard in gaming. It's like coming back to Minecraft. And so you don't mind spending the extra money for a collector's edition because it's going to last you another 10, 15 years. Like it's different than like buying a collector's edition for a game that like only lasts maybe a year in hype. So you have a little more comfort with this thing. And I mean, it's just going to be such a good game. I really do have faith in Rockstar. They have not let us down after playing arguably one of the best stories in gaming through Red Dead Redemption. I'm giving them whatever money they want, frankly, Now,
I wonder if this is going to be like we've seen with a lot of other things. I don't know if we see it much with games where people buy up as much as they can. Oh, like the PS5, I guess, is the best one.
Yeah.
Buy up as much as they can and resell them, especially when it gets closer to the holidays.
I wonder I think the digital code era stops that from being a problem, because if it's too hard to get, I'm not going to spend double for a physical copy when I could just buy the digital for now and wait for the physical copy later on,
Yeah, 5 years later or something like that when it's 10% off.
When there's no other way to play but that, then you got a problem. Like when like, I need the PS5 because that thing's only releasing on the PS5, then the PS5 becomes the thing that like you must own a PS5,
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Interesting.
We'll let you guys know the development status of GTA. It's going to be pretty groundbreaking for the gaming industry.
All right, Frank, it's time for our review. I hear you watched Predator Badlands. Are you ready for some questions?
I am. Yeah, this was a fun movie.
Okay. So let's just get a baseline then. Overall, how did you like this? How does it compare to the previous Predator movies? Have you seen most of the previous Predator movies?
So my favorite previous Predator movie was Prey, which it's the same director. Makes sense. Pulling up the name right now, and I should have had this one. Dan Teckenberg. I know I'm probably saying that wrong, but he's kind of revitalizing this entire franchise. And so, yeah, if you liked Prey, you're going to love this. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I would say like the last Predator movie outside of that I would watch is like the 80s Schwarzenegger stuff, real passive fan, not necessarily a big fan.
Yeah. Okay. Likewise. I don't think I've seen most of them. Never really been huge into the Predator thing, but this one got a lot of hype behind it for sure.
Yeah.
So in this one, I understand that the Predator's the main character now, not the villain in the background, the antagonist. But how does that shift the movie? And did you like that change?
I loved it, man. So here's the thing. This is gonna sound because Thomas always tells me he does this every time. It feels like Star Trek.
Nice.
If you like away missions, this is your jam. So Jonathan, there's a Voyager episode that right away I was like, oh, this is that Voyager episode. You remember when the Kazon, they have this kid help them out or whatever, and the kid has got to kill Chakotay, and if he doesn't do it, then he's not accepted as part of their clan. That's this movie.
Okay.
So he has to kill something to be accepted into his own clan. Essentially, there's some family drama that's a little deeper than that, but so the whole time you're wanting him to be successful and also learn that he doesn't need to be that person anymore. Just like Chakotay teaches that kid on Star Trek. It's the same thing with this. You're like, you don't have to be an asshole like your dad, but we also want you to succeed in your dad's eyes, So yeah.
Man, that's pretty good. If you could relate it to Star Trek, then I think I'm in.
Yeah.
So do you feel like this movie kind of builds on the lore of Predator and adds a lot to that already developed world?
So as someone who very passively knows the lore of Predator and Alien, I think it does a great job of not needing to build on it, but actually just kind of, we've seen this a lot in other things where it's like, oh, good, it's a small story within the bigger universe. Marvel's trying to do that. DC's been doing that recently. That's how this feels too. It's like this movie, whether it's told or not told, doesn't impact anything else Predator or Alien. But yes, but still you have, the synth that's an alien synth, or it's, from the Alien movies. And then you have Predator here. The two work together so damn well, and a small story that's just a one-off. This basically a kid, right? A young adult, a weakling in his own clan, is out on this thing trying to kill a monster, and he runs into the Watani people from Alien, who are also trying to do the same, and problems ensue. Elle Fanning, I think, does such a great job in this. I'm starting to become a real big Elle Fanning fan. She's from the show The Great and so many other things. And in this, she plays two different roles. One is this kind of, happy-go-lucky, discovering what it is to be an adventurer the first time. She's missing the bottom half of her body. She's a synth. So she's kind of used as a backpack behind him, but also she's also the only person speaking English in their adventures. And then the other half is another synth who is, fully in Wutani's clans. And so, or in their corporate structure, and she's much more about malice and menace and getting the job done. So to see Elle playing two characters with very opposing personalities really showcases her performance.
So how do you like her character and her being paired with Dec, with the Predator?
Yeah, I thought that was a good move, because I think Dec is, while he is a badass, they do a really good job. The performer behind that is Demetrius, very long name. Schuster Kolomantangi. He does a hell of a good job. John, I'm telling you, a lot of prosthetics. It's not a lot of CGI on him. It's a lot of prosthetics. But the fact that he's able to act through the prosthetics and really show some really good emotion. And so he's a badass, right? You're like, oh, he could fight anything. But also you could get through the prosthetics, the fact that he's a kid who's just an arrogant, he thinks his family's right and what they believe is right, and he's the problem. And he's gonna get revenge on his dad. He's not mature enough to see, like, you're not mature. And so to have her in that conversation as well, being like, you don't have to be this way, but also, she's learning stuff from him, like the concept of brother and sister. She learns from him and stuff like that. So they are learning from each other, but they feel so needed, Yeah.
Yeah. They balance off each other pretty well.
Very well. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there, in this movie, I imagine there's got to be a good amount of CGI. Was there any that kind of stood out to you? Anything that was done extra well or could have used a little more polish?
I think overall the CGI is very serviceable. I think one of the things that I would recommend about people wanting to make movies like this is that they use CGI to enhance physical props. And this movie does that a lot. There are times when the CGI is like a little too much CGI in this fight. It's essentially two CGI things fighting each other, which we see a lot in like Marvel. But I would say it's very serviceable. There were a couple times watching this, I was like, oh, that's awesome. I was like verbally saying like, damn, like that kind of thing. Like when he's like, this monster is chasing him or coming after him, and he puts his blade out in a certain way to where it just like slices the monster in half as it's coming at him. And it's like, damn, that's cool. Sometimes it's just cool.
Yeah. So I read that the director, I'm not going to try to say his last name, but Dan, he wanted each of these movies to have their own kind of engine behind them, their own,
yes,
moving force. Do you feel like this is a good standalone movie if you don't know much about the Alien franchise, that you can watch it and it doesn't need any momentum from the previous movies?
Dude, I'm so glad you said that, because that is the number one takeaway from this thing, is that the character intent feels so freaking real. And that all you need is to understand that this kid's trying to prove himself, and that Thea is her name, the good version of Elle Fanning, is just trying to get back to the other Elle Fanning and just trying to find her legs. Like the intent is so simple: kill this monster. And I loved that. I loved that it boils down to that. We don't have to worry about like this grand scheme of corporations fighting each other or, whatever. Really, really simple premise. And whatever is done in the movie, because the movie is very tight to the point where maybe it actually speeds through things that you wouldn't mind breathing a little bit more in. Like when you watch the first Avatar movie, I think there's a lot of people who are like, oh, that's cool. I like how there's a lot of cool stuff in this world. You were wondering how it worked. Like, well, how do they braid together? A lot of that was going on in this movie. Like, oh, I wonder how that works. So I think they kind of sped through some things they probably could have let breathe a bit, but nevertheless, everything that was done was with the intent of kill monster. And I think that's very helpful because I think sometimes we let things get bloated too much like my discussion of this. Getting a little too bloated. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So moving forward, I don't know if they have anything else planned out, but does it look like this movie was made in a way that they can continue the story or make other sequels like it? Other like spinoffs?
This sets up a sequel right away. The end of this thing sets up a sequel. Yeah. And it could be one of those things where you don't see a sequel. Maybe you're just like, I'm sure that they're off on another Dak's going to be back at it or whatever. Like you can see them never ever coming back to this world. But also I think with how successful this is about to be, they're coming back to this world. Because I'm giving this thing, if you were looking at numbers, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It could be a 7 out of 10 if you were like being really picky, but I've got to add in how much I enjoy just walking out of theaters. So it is a blast to watch in the same way that I would say like Fury Road was revolutionary, but Furiosa was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Furiosa. This feels like Furiosa. We're like, that was just badass. Yeah, that's what it boils down to.
Nice. Okay, so we've seen since our parents' generation, I think, and alien movies came out when we were real young.
Yeah.
And some people would go through the labor to cosplay Alien, and it's always huge endeavors to do it. Do you think this has the potential to revitalize the fandom, and you think we're going to see Predator cosplaying moving forward?
If Dan is in charge of all Predator movies going forward, I'd be very happy. I can totally see cosplay out of this, especially all the tools he has, which is so funny to say that term. Watch the movie and you'll understand that term tool is very cool here. But like all the swords and stuff like that, I'm like, as soon as he's using this, like this flame sword, I'm like, well, that's cosplay right there. And then like he had this thing keep like popping up, this like spinning frisbee blade or whatever. He kept having it pop up and he'd throw it. I was like, that's just cool looking. And so I think cosplay is destined to happen. And for Elle Fanning's character, like, you know how sometimes it's like, yeah, you could try to take on Dak if you want to. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of foam. But if you want to go as Elle, that's okay as well. So Elle Fanning's characters, both of them are simpler to do. It contacts, wear a wig, you're fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. So walking out of the movie, your immediate reaction, how did it feel? And did that change over time that you had a little bit of time to digest it?
Immediately walking out, I was like, son of a bitch, that was badass. I immediately, and I'm trying, and usually Squeaks is the one I have to cut out all his profanity, but I'm going to tell you right now, badass is the term. And it was just like, cause it was so much action and so much of like, hey, check out, hey, this grass is cool. By the way, it's all sharp knives, it's like, okay, can't walk through grass. New rule that we just learned on this planet. That's constantly. Cool. Exactly. Yeah. That constantly. And so it was a lot of fun. And it was like, man, sitting with it for a while, I was sitting there like, man, I wonder, I started kind of doing the lore, the sci-fi thing where I was like, I wonder what it's like to be part of the Predator clans. Like, how does his parents in his relationship work? And wait, how many brothers does he have? And stuff like that. So you start to really kind of build that out, and that's fun.
You always think these aggressive, like, alien species or whatever that we see in Star Trek and stuff all the time. Yeah. They must have a chef and a nurse and people that are in the service industry of their planet. What do those ones look like?
That's what I've been bought.
Klingons and stuff.
One of the things to kind of like defend keeping him alive, the Predator alive and stuff like that is like his technology is advanced, very advanced. And then I'm thinking like, man, how does a Klingon or like, how does a war first society put so much into technology? Yeah. Where are there labs where they study this? Like there has to be scientists,
The only way I could see that actually making sense in a sci-fi perspective is they probably have a different race that is a slave race on their planet.
Could be.
That serves all those roles.
Or I was thinking they probably acquire the technology as they go.
True. Yeah.
And so
but then they have to have people that understand how to manipulate it to multiply it and stuff too.
Yeah. But I bet R&D is not done by them. I think just manufacturing is done by them maybe. Because he uses this really sick bow and arrow, but it's like, he just pulls back and like lasers are the bow and arrow part of it, but he like pulls back on it. But I was like, I bet he probably got a bow and arrow from another culture. And then they're like, let's laser this, type of thing like that. So that seems like something they got from America or Earth or something like that.
Interesting. Yeah. I like it. All right. Any other final thoughts? I think that's all the questions I got for you.
I would say that this is a lot of fun, whether or not you're a Predator fan or not. I would say it's more important that you're a sci-fi fan. If you're a sci-fi fan, if your favorite Star Treks are away missions, if your favorite video games are survival games, If one of your favorite parts of the Avatar movie was learning about a really cool Pandora, then this is your movie. Don't go in thinking it's going to save theaters. It's not like it's going to win a bunch of Oscars, but you're going to walk away like you did when you watched a Mad Max or when you watched a new Die Hard, just thinking like that was cool. And it feels good to have movies like that. They're like, that was really cool. Yeah. All right. So yeah, make sure you guys check out Pet or Badlands. Now let's hear from Ken Maney. He's the host of ODPH, a podcast that's been around a year longer than even us. And this is one of my favorite conversations we've had that I've had with other creators, because it's with another podcaster. And we go into some of the nichest things that it just are so inside baseball. But I loved having the conversation with him and talking about some of the heydays when we used to have Twitter and stuff like that. It's a really fun conversation between two people who have been at podcasting for a little too long, probably. It's a good combo.
Frank, this is an exciting time. I mean, we've known each other in the podcast community for years. I have been listening to Geek Freaks all the time. I mean, shout out to Kevin, and shout out to our mutual associate, Mr. Thomas Craig, one of our favorite reviewers at Nerd Initiative. So definitely excited to talk to you, though. Like I say, it's been a long time overdue.
I know. There are a lot of podcasters that are kind of in that, or that like started off in the Twitter groups back in the day, and things have evolved so much since then.
It's a wild time, like, to think from then to now, and like how things have changed, and just looking back, and it's a journey. Like I use that phrase a lot, but it truly is, like, when you're on the content creating side of things.
It is. You guys started back in 2017, and what was that first initial like niche that you guys wanted to capture with this show?
Well, it was funny because we had originally talked about doing it in 2015. Myself and if you are a long time ODPH listener, you know who Josh Royce is, aka Sound Guy Galore, JR. And we were kind of contemplating it for a while, and I had been wanting to do something in this vein for a while. Unfortunately, though, life kind of took a detour. My dad, unfortunately, got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and life stops for families in that situation. And he ultimately lost his battle with that. So when it came time to kind of throw the idea back around, Jay was one of the guys who's like, yo, like, let's get back on the horse and let's do this. And I'm like, all right. And because, you're around people that were kind of debating, if like everybody says they want to be a podcaster until they got to actually do work. And I think you have to find like the true people that are in it. And Jay was one, along with somebody that very well. His name is Josh Allen. No, he's not the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. Hashtag he was first. He came on board along with JR right after, and you know him now as Padawan Jay. And we had decided that we wanted to, get back on this and kind of think what we wanted to do. JR was always a big sports guy. Pad and I are both big sports fans and also entertainment fans. And we were thinking about what would be a great way to do this. And we originally were thinking about doing our show as an hour-long show. First half would be sports, the other half would be entertainment. And we really thought about, what would be a name to stick out. Because, I mean, honestly, as wild as it is at the time, there was only like a couple million podcasts. And I know that's kind of like a throwaway number, because right now, I believe the stat is somewhere over 4 million.
Yeah, worldwide. The pandemic messed it up.
Yeah. So like everything kind of went a little crazy. But like at that time, too, we were thinking about something to stand out. And one thing is, when we were kind of kicking around names, we were thinking about something like with my dad, because my dad knew everybody in the show, and he was really like, this is what you should do. You love doing this stuff. You really love. So he was always known for throwing, if you are familiar with the game craps at the casinos, a hard 8, but you also know it as an ocho duro. Now, could he throw this on command? No. Could he throw this at the most clutch time possible? Yes. And I didn't believe it until I actually went out to Vegas and saw this firsthand at multiple places. So we thought, okay, this would be kind of a unique way to do this, kind of give an honor, because I guarantee no other podcast is going to have this name in their title. And then you factor in, it's going to be a multiple show. We're talking a parlay, because it's multiple bets, to relay that in, and then it's an hours. But I'm like, that is the longest name you're ever going to say, and people are going to be like, what? So that's why we just conveniently called it the ODPH. and then we hit the ground running. To be honest with you, granted, this might be a shock for some listeners, but we did not have Anchor and Spotify creators back in the start of this. This is actually go out and buy equipment. And I think that kind of really put things in perspective too, because if you're going to spend an investment like this, you really got to put your best foot forward. And we did. And we rehearsed. There's about 6 episodes that will never see the light of day. I don't even know where they are right now to kind of find our voice. And then finally, like, I think I just threw down, like, we're releasing this Memorial Day of 2027, or 2017 rather, I'm sorry. And like, win, lose or draw, we're putting it out because there's no time like the present. Like, if we keep saying we're going to wait till it's perfect, it's never going to air. And then we did. And I guess they say the rest is history, but what a history it's been.
Yeah. Let's talk about that first episode compared to today, because that's one thing I struggle with pretty frequently. And I've brought it to some of our listeners, like, what do you guys think? And they voted to keep them in. I would love to delete like the first 50 episodes of Geek Freaks just because the audio is awful. We were literally circled around, one of those Blue Yeti mics with all of us sitting at different distances.
Oh my God. Yes. I know that situation all too well, man. Oh man.
So how does that first episode look compared to today's episodes?
It is day and night, to be honest with you, because we didn't really know what we were doing. And I've kept them in. I really want everybody, if you're willing to go back over the 800 episodes plus that we have done and to go hear those, if you can find them on certain podcast platforms, I keep them in because I always want to remember this is where we started. And that first episode is not a perfect product by any stretch of the imagination. It really is. But it reminds me when I go back occasionally, and granted, I haven't listened to it in a while, but it reminds me of like why I wanted to do it and why I wanted to create content and like to actually do it and put it out. And, it kind of serves as a benchmark, even like when you go through these creator lulls that, like burnout happens. And especially like the larger your show gets, it's more like, where are we going? What are we doing? And for that episode, like it holds a very sentimental place because it just reminds me of like, this is why I wanted to do this in the first place. And, to think like where we started and we'd be so nervous about saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing. Now it's just like so secondhand that, we just go and then edits are quick and away it is.
There is something it's kind of maybe nostalgia just hearing the idea of being nervous on mic. And nowadays it's bread and butter. And so is there anything today that still kind of gets you a little bit nervous? Maybe you're talking to a certain guest or something like that. That's like, a little tight.
Always. I think it's just reminding yourself when you get to a level, I hope this doesn't come out like braggadocious or anything.
No, it's experience, not necessarily. Yeah. Braggadocious.
Yeah. But, it's when you get to a certain level and you get creators that reach out and you get people that you never thought you would ever talk to that say like, hey, I want to come on your show. There's always that bit of nervousness and still to this day, but that's the exciting part. I think if it becomes so mundane that you don't like, it's just like, oh, this is another day. Like you lose the interest, but like, I still get excited when I get emails from people saying they want to come on the show. And especially if it's like somebody that I never thought in a million years would want to. And they're the ones reaching out. It's not like the other way around, which is like, I remember back in, a few years ago, like we'd have to beg, borrow, and plead for people to come on. And now we're the ones having people kicking down the door and like wanting to come on. And we're the ones that have to say no because, whatever reason. And it's like, it's wild to think, but I never lose that excitement. I think if you do, you lose what's really fun about content creating because there should always be that little bit of nervousness, that little bit of anxiousness.
There's a real high that comes from it. I've noticed, especially when it's a guest that, is like a personal goal of mine, I'll say. And like beforehand, anxious. And then right after, as soon as I'm done and they leave the call, whatever, the amount of exuberance that I feel like that went well, baby. It's hard to explain like how good that feels, like nailed it, So yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, no, it's hard, but man, it's the best feeling though. Like when you have like the dreams. And like I said, when you all start out with this, like I think everybody wants to be the next Joe Rogan to a degree of popularity, the next,
Yeah.
I would say now the Kelsey brothers, and what they're doing.
There you go.
And let's be honest, I mean, it's not going to happen for everybody. Like that's a lottery ticket right there. But to go out there and get those experiences, like I said, God forbid this ends tomorrow for whatever reason, I walk away happy, and I walk away knowing like there's no regrets. Everything's on the table, and I can look back and say I got to do these experiences that few people can say they did, and it went well. That's the stuff I'm going to take away with me.
When I talk to new podcasters, guys, boy, there's so many different expectations when you first start out podcasting. A lot of them are like, well, yeah, I'd like to be, the next Joe Rogan, we'll say. And I say that's like picking up a guitar and saying I'm going to be the new Aerosmith. Yep. Just be happy if you could play local gigs. And if you play local gigs, maybe pay a couple bills, maybe get a little bit of scratch, or one of the best feelings in the world is somebody notices you or something from your show. Be happy with that. If Aerosmith comes along, congratulations, you got struck by lightning twice. But look for those local gigs first,
Oh, absolutely. No, I think that's too, because I think everybody, going back to something I think originally said, everybody thinks they're a content creator until it's time to make content. And then they don't realize it's work. I mean, there's a lot of work involved in this thing, and people don't realize it. Everybody just goes, "Oh, well, somebody has a microphone and they're going to talk." And I remember talking to one podcast when they were starting out, like they were asking me for advice, and I was like, "Yeah, you need to do this." And they're like, "Well, I want to set up the Patreon. I want to set up." I'm like, "Whoa, you don't have an audience. You need to pump brakes on thinking Patreon." But if your goal is all monetary, I'm sorry, like you're in the wrong business. Because let's face it, there's a lot of times you're not going to make money. Like if you do make a decent amount on Patreon, that's even the cherry on the sundae. But to do this just for that monetary thing, that's why you're going to burn out. I believe the stat is still every podcast that starts, if you make it past 12 episodes, you're going to make it. Everybody else pod fades right around that time because they're not making money or they don't meet their expectations. And to be honest with you, as crazy as that is, that's probably the most accurate thing, that you have to be going in there and be happy if you have one listener, let alone thousands or millions or whatever the case is.
So back in the early days, there was a big thing, a lot of it was on Twitter, I feel like.
Yeah,
and
podcast
there
Twitter.
Yeah.
The days, I miss those days.
Yeah, it was scrappier, there was a thing to it where, and there was kind of like, I remember like, okay, in the middle of the night, I'll retweet everybody I can. So it doesn't bog down my feed too much, but also I want to show support. So it's kind of this hard mix to find. And now I feel like, no, what support looks like is shouting out somebody for something that's actually tangible in their show. And that one mention is more valuable than me retweeting a show every week, I think. And I know I feel it when somebody else does it. So I think that we have shifted from this thing where we're just like trying to scrap for any little listen we can get to nowadays, when things are a little bit more authentic. It might be a luxury of having a bigger audience now, but like everything's a little bit more authentic and it's a little bit more face to face, and people are turned off by what feels like retweet bots and are now more attracted to people who are more earnest about their opinions, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I think now, like when we started, I mean, there was a larger hunger, like you alluded to. Like I think there was more passion about doing this and more of like, a more open ceiling to go, like the sky's the limit, so to speak. But we were fortunate enough, and a lot of our, fellow podcasters at that time, you get around groups that have the same kind of mindset, the same kind of drive, and that inspires you to do it. And then when you start getting into the retweet thing, it's always a slippery slope, because as great as you think it is, in hindsight, it's really not. Like if you want to shout somebody out, by all means do it. And if you want to retweet them, you can go ahead. But when you start getting into groups that are just doing the retweets, it doesn't pay off as much, because when you start doing the stats, like do an episode you don't do that with to one that you do, and see, like, do you experience thousands of more downloads, And I think just at that time, everybody was so eager to get involved that, yeah, you lose hindsight of it, but then you see about who's really supporting and who's not. And like nowadays, forget about it. Like it's just occasionally that's the way to go. But I mean, podcast Twitter has changed so much. Like I miss the old days about that. Like that was, to me, like that was the golden era of podcasting, because there was just such a good group of shows out at that time, and everybody was so not so much about retweets, but about supporting and interacting and really
Right.
building, as hashtag Podern family, like and that.
Yes. Oh man, just hearing that again. Oh, that felt good to hear again.
Yeah, I mean, but it's true though. Like
Yeah.
I've sat there and talked with other podcasts like So Wizard. Shout out to Joey and the team there, and
Yeah. Classic.
yeah, and Hopsgeeks News and Matt and Lauren and the team there. And it's like we all kind of kick back a little bit and be like, yeah, you remember how it used to be like this? And it's like, yeah. And then things fall apart with podcasters doing different things, and I think everybody was trying to, it's a grind, and it's
Yes.
something that I think just people don't realize. But you have to be your biggest cheerleader, but you have to also promote yourself the right way. And if you want to be a member of the community, be a member of the community. If you're just going in to follow, then unfollow, like, that's always a bad look, no matter who you are. And, then people wonder like, oh, well, they don't support me. Well, why would they? You just did it to boost your numbers, in my opinion,
Yeah.
but, but you think about that, with that grind and just that era and just, the retweet, like, it's better to shout out on a show and have that genuine interaction, like commenting about something that was in a show and doing that and interacting. That gets you so much further than a simple retweet that'll get buried on a feed.
Yeah. And you know what, guys, I know some things you kind of feel there's a value to it being performative in a weird way that I don't necessarily like even saying out loud, but I think it's so much more important to DM the person and say like, hey, I really like your art on this new episode. Like you did a really good job with this new art or something like that. You're going to fuel that person. You're going to fuel them for weeks and you're going to feel good about sharing some real, because think about how it would be like to get that. So you don't have to post everything in public. Just get a hold of other podcasters and start building those communities. Cause like, yeah, so you're throwing out some names that have like, they've been around forever. It feels like, and I know when they put something out, metalcore, like there's so many good ones. Like, it's going to be good stuff. Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, and you can tell like those names are the ones that stand out and they're the real ones, that really understand the game. If you want to put it in that perspective, like they understand about building that community, building those connections, building that one-on-one with, your fellow content creators and the audience. And that's why they're doing great things and other ones are gone and doing other things. Like I say, everybody's got their own different journey, but you think about like the ones that we were with, shout out to Julio and the Contrarians and, the Pint and 3FN and 30 and Nerdy and all those guys. Like I say, everybody's doing different things, but they all have understood about the community aspect of things. And that's what carries them still through. And that's why you're seeing a lot of the, that class of podcasters are still doing great things today.
Yeah. Keep chugging along. Talking about podcasting over the years, one of the things that has really grown is video podcasting.
Yeah.
What do you think about the shift to video? And do you think that we're going to start seeing audio slip behind?
We won't see audio slip behind. The audio will be here till the end of time. Will it be as popular? Debatable. I think what we experienced is with everything that went down in 2020, that there was a shift to video and people were having to use it. So people became more comfortable using it. And I think that still plays a fact. But you also take a look at when podcasting is still doing great numbers, for downloads, like in the radio hasn't faded away. Like radio is still, still as relevant as it was, however many years ago. So I think that's still there. The video aspect, it's interesting because I think we were forced to go into it a little bit, but it depends on where your heart lies with it. Like I say, I've done Turn a Page for Nerd Initiative, which that has been an experience in itself. And that was me getting in front of the camera, which I don't necessarily love doing, but I will do it. But it was also something I became more comfortable with because I had to do Zoom calls and I had to, get familiar with that. So granted, there's a different audience for it. Like some people like the visual aspect. They like to see the reactions, for that.
Yeah.
Me, I'm just like, as long as the content's good, I don't care how I consume it. It's kind of like you think about it in the comic terms. Like the print comic will be here till the end. No question about it. Is a digital another way to do it? Yeah. Can you love both? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it depends on what your personal preference is. But as long as you give that option to the consumer, the audience, you've covered the bases. But yeah, video, I don't know, video has always been a tricky thing with me because people get hung up on different things. Like, oh, how's my lighting? How's my, audio on this aspect? Like, and then trying to chop it up to shorts and like, it's a different process. But, as long as you're still connecting with the audience, I think it serves a purpose. I mean, like, granted, I'm not in love with it personally, but I do it. And I've now became very, very comfortable doing it. But like I say, I don't think it's going to, video might have killed the radio star, so to speak, but the radio's still going. So that's kind of where I look at things like that.
You brought up a really good point that reminds me of my early days as well. The idea of like, I don't really want to be on video, but you feel like you're forced into it because it's like, there was a time we used to use a website called, I think it was called headliner.app or whatever it's Headliner, where you'd make audiograms. Audiograms, nobody does those anymore. That's just not a thing, know?
Yeah.
So you have to do video.
Well, but I think it's something with creating content. You have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I think that if you want to grow, you have to push yourself in different directions. Like if you just stayed in your lane and that's all you wanted to do, like if I just wanted to do podcasting, I could have stayed there and that's fine. Like I say, that's your journey. High five, like perfect. But if you really want to push yourself in this era of content, you kind of have to step outside the box a little bit. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But it's better to sit there, try and fail than sit on the sidelines and always wonder, what about this? What about this? Like I was I kind of refer to like, when we got 5 years into this in 2022, I sat with Pad and, kind of went like, what's next? Like, what are we doing? Like, we've now hit a 5-year mark and, a lot of our contemporaries have fallen off. And it was, do we keep doing this? Do we try doing video? Do we go to a news site? And, it was kind of like a real thought process about it too, because there's a lot of uncertainty there. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we ultimately did, and it turned out to be better. It pushed us out of our comfort zone. And, it was definitely a challenge to do that, but it was one that I think made us better as creators, that now we're comfortable with being uncomfortable and we can kind of adapt to when certain things are going on and certain trends. Like granted, you'll probably never see us doing any dances on TikTok by any stretch of the means, but
fingers crossed.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, if there's enough charity donations, maybe like I say, I've always talked about that. I said, if we hit, oh God, what was it? Like 10,000 for live stream for the cure. Like I would do a cosplay or something. And, it didn't happen. I mean, granted, we did earn some money, but it didn't happen. But, but like I say, in that kind of situation, you just have to learn to adapt and grow. Otherwise, like you'll be in your position and that's where you're going to stay, which, I mean, if you're happy with that, that's perfect. Yeah. But we have such a amount of time to do this and do this well, that sitting on the sidelines and always wondering what if, I mean, that just doesn't compute. That just does not register. And it's a matter of getting out and trying it. And if it fails, it fails. Like being comfortable with failure is something we've learned the hard way. Like, not everything has been perfect at the ODPH and even with Nerd Initiative and going there, but you learn to adapt and you take notes and you learn from that experience. And as long as you don't repeat it, it's all the better. Like life's a great teacher. You just got to make sure you pay attention to class. Speaking
of Nerd Initiative, what was that process like for you guys? The networks, I think, is very tempting for new podcasters. And sometimes it's a good place, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you're not sure if you should take that jump. So can you kind of explain Nerd Initiative to those listening?
Sure. Nerd Initiative is a collection of journalists, podcasters, and content creators that really want to try pushing the positivity of pop culture. And when we got to that 5-year mark, we just came back from doing press at New York Comic Con. That's kind of our home turf. So if you hear that reference a lot, it's just we're out of upstate New York. So that's the easiest con for us to get to. One of these years, we're going to get to San Diego and scare everybody. Hasn't happened yet, though. So folks,
come on down. I'll buy your beer when you do. That'd be awesome.
So Frank, I'm tracking you down the minute I get to get
Hell
there.
Yeah.
But it was one of those situations. We got back, we were getting a ton of press opportunities and just on the podcast alone. And it was kind of the situation of we hit that 5-year mark and it's like, what's next? And if we don't have a future plan, like what is the future?
Mhm.
So we started looking around, and I had known shout out to JT. I know it's formerly East Coast Avengers. I'm trying to think what is. I think Jay. I apologize.
Yeah, it was the Batcave for a bit there. Now I think he's just doing his own thing.
I think it's Trophy Talk with JT. But anyway, shout out to him. Everybody should go listen to him. Shout out to Jay. And Jay was at Nerd Initiative, and I was kind of asking him a little bit about it. And like at the time, they were going heavy on TikTok. Like that's where they're getting most of their creators from. But it was an outlet that, you know, I was kind of watching because I'm thinking like, okay, we're doing all this press, like where could this lead? And, you know, I want to go somewhere that I could really expand on stuff I was doing. And I met with their owner, Michael Rothman, shout out to Michael, and kind of hashed out like a plan to like kind of slowly start getting involved. And we started seeing some success. And I think the biggest argument we had about is like, well, we already have a brand built. Like, why would we go somewhere else? And it was like, in my opinion, like you want to make sure you're still networking. I mean, podcast Twitter, it kind of faded away at this stage. And where else was everybody going to meet creators? Wherever, you know, where was everybody going? And granted, I didn't want to be somebody sitting in a Facebook group doing, you know, you kind of watching that. It's like, as far as networking, I do love being in Facebook groups. I don't want that coming out like that, but it was kind of like for the, you know, the quote unquote business aspect of it. And it was just kind of like, let's see where this door opens. And, you know, I was allowed a lot of creative freedom to do some stuff there. And that's where we kind of evolved it to where it is now. Like looking back on, I took over as editor in chief in 2023. And because I laid it out for Michael, like, this is what I want to do. This is what I think we can do. And it's led to great success, not only for them, but for ODPH itself. And, you know, it's an interesting experience, to say the least, but it's been fun. I've met a lot of great people there. Shout out to Megan from Vigilante Vibes podcast. I know you know Megan.
She's a delight. Yeah.
Megan's amazing. You know, Hops Geeks News, Thomas, Craig. We have a couple Thomases in so I want to emphasize you know, who he is. And you know, like the rest of the team there. Like I said, it's been, and now ironically, as we're recording, I am actually leaving Nerd Initiative. It's all good. It's
not my reaction. Sorry.
No, it's fine. No, everybody thinks but it's not bad. There's a couple, but once again, it's a couple of opportunities have come across my way that I'm interested in exploring, and it's all good terms. It's nothing bad. Like, you know, it's a great place to be at, and it'll be kind of interesting to see what these new opportunities are lying. But it's also too at this case, like I've done this. It's great, but I still want to find what's next. I still want to go in that route. But like I say, I'd be very excited to see what the future has to go with that. But then again, it goes back to, you know, getting that experience, seeing what it does for you, you know, as a content creator, and, you know, taking those experiences with you further and growing your brand out. And like I said, Nerd Initiative has been very great with ODPH, and, you know, I can't speak. I have nothing bad to say about that time, but it's interesting to see where the future is going to go. But like I say, there's a window of time to do this in. I know one day the mic will be put down for reasons, and not anytime soon. So anybody that's you know, hoping for the downfall, no, I'm not going anywhere.
Get out of here.
Yeah, you know, but it's one of those things. Like, you know, I know there's a window of time, and I want to try doing a couple things, and, you know, see where it goes. But
I think that's really important for people to understand, is the community aspect of podcasting, which is, I didn't know it was there when I first started, but boy, when you discover it, it's amazing to be a part of. And it's harder and harder to find, it feels like. I'm sure there are the Facebook groups, or like maybe even Discords. But please get out there and start trying to find other podcasters. You'll make your show better. If if that's the way you want to look at it, your show will get better by communicating with other podcasters.
Oh my God. I remember when I got brought into a Twitter group. One of the best stories, I think, of one of our podcast things. Because at the time, like I was much like you agreed, and I can't back that up anymore. Like, go out and network and just interact with shows. Know who you're interacting with too. Like, kind of see how they move and do that. But I remember like we started interacting with a bunch of shows just at random, And then 3 o'clock in the morning, I get added to a Twitter group called Next Wave. And I'm like, I wake up, I'm waking up and I got like messages and I'm going like, oh my God, did Pad say something? Or like, did I say something? I'm like freaking out. I'm like, wait, what the hell happened? And I'm like, oh, wait, this is like one of those groups. And sure enough, like, I think you were in there at the time.
Mm-hmm. I think was it Wondersoul that started that one?
Yes.
There it is.
Yep. Yeah. Shout out to him. He's doing things on Twitch. Like we catch up every now and then, like too. Like, yeah. So he's doing good. Last time we were talking, it's been a couple months, but yeah, he's doing this thing on Twitch. Like, yeah, and like just getting those podcasts in there and interacting and building that community. And then, seeing where that journey went and then how it evolved into when Next Wave ended and we wound up spawning into the apocalypse. God, I have to remember all these names.
I know. I'm sure they're on there somewhere. I could probably look them up, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I have to remember because I mean that was Brian Wayne. Shout out to Brian from Cheers of Comics who was doing that, and that was his group. And then that thing blew up and to like that was like the pinnacle, I think, of where we're going with podcast groups. But it was making those connections and being involved, and then I think a lot of things happen in the world that really kind of shifted gears. And it is tough to meet new shows and meet new podcasters or content creators because there's a lot that I think are trying to go for the quick buck, if you will. And I think that, they're not ready for like what it all entails. Like I say, this has been a 9 to 5 on top of a 9 to 5. It's been one of those situations where by putting in the work, you've seen the work come back and pay off. And I think nowadays, everybody's got a different mindset of what success is with that. But for me, it was interacting and, like I say, waking up to however many messages everybody shouting out and making those connections that I still have to this day with most of that group. I think is still the Next Wave group. I think is still doing this a good majority, which is wild to think about because that was 2018, 2019.
Yeah,
and like.
Yeah.
I think like everybody is still active, like the majority of shows. Like there's some that disappeared, but I would say like if there was 50 in there, I want to say like 35 at least are still doing it, which is insane. But it's an amazing thing too, though.
I pulled it up. We have like alternate reality radio.
Oh God, yeah. Shout out to Justin.
Pod Nation, that's Alex running Pod Nation.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, the alien.
Yeah. Oh my God, wow. I completely forgot about Pod Nation. Apologies, like personal.
Hashtag Pod Nation, man. You got to do the hashtags too.
Oh yes, that's right. The hashtags. Hashtag Podder Family. Hashtag Pod Nation.
Oh man, the old days. One of the community things I wanted to throw out there, a good little tale on my side, because we both know Thomas Craig. So Thomas, he asked to join Geek Freaks for an episode, and yeah, sure, come on. We'll find a spot for you, and we're talking, and just clicked well. And then afterwards, he was asking a lot of questions about podcasting. And when you find like, oh, this is an anchor person, like a person who is the anchor for their show. And I was like, you got to foster those relationships as much as you can because they will feel alone in their own show sometimes if there's that one person who's the editor or the PR guy. And so, he had questions and I kept answering and it just clicked so well. And at a certain point, I was like, hey, man, you want to start a podcast together? You and me, we'll do challenge accept. We do make a challenge accept, a movie podcast. Not like there's not enough of those, but it was just
never have enough. As long as content's good, it doesn't.
And now we're thick as thieves. Me and him are texting every day, and he does a lot of our SoCal convention coverage for us, and he's on Geek Freaks all the time now as part of the the whole like network stuff, and it was just because he asked to join the podcast for an episode to just wanted to talk about whatever Superman or whatever, and now, I mean, I'm sitting here talking about how he's about to have a baby and all that thing. It's amazing how that happens.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I mean, we had the same experience with ODPH, and that was we had a mutual friend pop over by the name of Sean Duffy, and big sports guy. And this is kind of like we were still in that early process of everything. And he came, but he's also big into entertainment stuff too. And he just came and like the four of us just did an episode together and just clicked. And like we knew it clicked. And we were like, like after it got done, Sean was like, "Yeah, I'd love to do this again." And I'm like, "Well, why don't you come back next week?" And then, hey, if you want to do it again, and suddenly he just became part of the show, and just we clicked. Like I say, there's still the greatest segment about college football that will never air because somebody forgot to hit record is an inside joke. If you message Padawan Jay about it, he'll just start laughing. But that camaraderie that we had, and that was just something like at that time. And then, I mean, Sean's got a million other things going on in life right now too. So shout out to him. But it's just like, but you find when you click with those people, like I say, that's some of the best moments. I mean, and even with Thomas too. Like I remember when he was asking about Nerd Initiative, and I was like, "Wait, aren't you with Frank?" Like I said, I'm not stealing talent. And he's like, "No, it's cool. No. I got permission. It's cool." I'm like, "Okay, I'm like, listen, I want to make sure because I'm not." And and then he's always been great with his videos, and I remember San Diego Comic-Con too. He was doing interviews, and like he was so like he's such a natural for it. Like
he really is, yeah.
Yeah, it's just how good he is. Like I don't even think he realizes how good he is.
He does it, and I keep telling him like the thing that because when we go to conventions with him, we joke around like, "Oh, it's Fearless Thomas," because like there's that intrepidation before you go approach the voice of Ash Ketchum, but he's just like right there into it. And it's like, I wish I just had that little bit of bravery that he has in those moments.
Yeah, he's somebody that like literally you can give a mic to, and it's gonna be great. Like that's. Like he'll ask for a review, and he's like, is it cool if I'm like, dude, just do it. Like I there's very rarely I have to ever go like, Thomas, I would, this, like, give him an edit, just because he's such a natural with it. And he's so passionate about like when he's talking, and you can definitely tell like the stuff from San Diego Comic-Con, like he was so excited to do it. And he's like, is this okay? I'm like, dude, it's perfect. Like,
yeah.
we don't need to worry about that at all. So but yeah, I mean, but it's like when you make those connections, like they say, when you start looking back at like the early days and think where you are now, it's like you kind of have to look back and just pause and be grateful for like you're still doing this and you're still on this journey. And everything that you did prior to this has now led you to this moment you're in right now. And that only makes the future more exciting.
Exactly. Looking at some advice you can give to others, let's say it's somebody who's maybe just starting out, or they're in that first crucial 10 or 12 episodes. What is something you'd make sure to tell them so they know going forward? Just keep going.
Don't worry about everybody else. Worry about your own house.
Amen. Yeah.
Honestly, you need to work on your own craft and make sure it's the best product you can put out. If you start comparing yourself to larger shows, you're not going to get anywhere because you're not building your own foundation. You're renting. And your rent will come due and you won't be able to pay and you'll get evicted. Like to kind of put it in very short, sweet terms, you need to really just make the best show you can, get it out, talk to other shows. Don't spam your links, because what's going to happen is if you're interacting with somebody, they're going to check out your show. They're going to see what you're about. And you need to make sure that your content is the best that you can do at this moment in time. And as long as it is, you've done the job. And that's all you should worry about as you're just starting out. And then if you make it to that 12th episode and you want to duck out, you need to remind yourself of why you're doing this in the first place. Like I still have a note I have in my office of a reminder of why I do this. And when I get in those lulls about like, oh man, I'm feeling this X, Y, and Z, I look at that note and I go, okay. And I get right back to it because I need to remind myself, I did this 8 years ago because I love this and I wanted to do this. And the reactions and the experiences that I've had, the people I've met through this entire journey, that's what's been worth it. So if I don't make $1 million off this, okay, cool. But do I have $1 million worth of experience? Absolutely. And then some.
Yeah. Now let's look at the advice for somebody who's 200 episodes in. They might be feeling a little bit of that burnout. What do you tell them?
Remind yourself why you did this in the first place.
There you go.
Think about why you did this and remind yourself, why you're doing it, because you're going to feel burnout. Everybody does. Like I'll admit there's days where I'm just like, I don't want to do this, but I will look to that note. I'll look to a reminder. I'll look to an episode I did that I'm really proud of. Like, as an experience I never got a chance to, and be like, do I want to give this up and throw it away? And that usually reminds me of like why I do this. Because like I say, I don't look at this. I mean, granted, my first note was the amount of money I put into buying equipment for this. And I said, it with a little trash can underneath it, question mark. So that was enough for me at the time to do it. But, you know, after that, it was kind of like, I remind myself, I love doing this. I love interacting with fellow fans about stuff that I would be talking about at the workplace, you know, outside, you know, at the quote unquote lunch table, like whatever the case is, you know, like I say, I work at the break room. Yeah, I'm always talking this stuff. So it's like, why not put it out to the masses? Because there's more people there. Like, that's what I'm trying to go with the lunchroom thing. But no matter what, it's something that always reminds me of like, I got this far. Why do I love doing this? And if you can't answer that question, then it's time to bow out. But if you can remind yourself, like, I do this because I'm a fan. I love talking. This is my DNA. Then you just need to kind of remember that. And you know, it's a tough grind, but you got into this. You made it 200 episodes. What made you keep going this far? What made you go to 199? You know, what made you go there? And like I say, we've been very fortunate. We've only missed, in the entire 8.5 years of ODPH, we've only missed 3 weeks. So Wizard has done it for 10 years plus, and they have not missed 1 week. Like, yeah, it's crazy, but it's crazy. But I often bring up them because I remember they were one of the first shows I watched to see what they did, and I liked, and what they didn't do, and I didn't like. You know, kind of use that as a benchmark. But it's one of those things that, you know, we do this because we love doing it. And granted, I mean, if there's ever a time that we don't want to do this, like, we'll just hang it up, you know. But but like I say, I don't see that happening anytime soon. I think that, you know, there's still many more miles to go, and Pat and I will still be doing this, you know, at least once a week. Twice has been a little tough because of life, but
right.
But as long as we're still doing some kind of content, then, you know, that's the biggest thing, is just remind yourself, make a note, or, you know, something that will remind yourself of why you want to do this. And if, like I say, if it's monetary, you've already failed. And if it's, you know, popularity, it's like, no, it's like, because if you have consistently 10 listeners, that means 10 people are giving you their time of day every to hear you talk. Put that in perspective, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. Speaking of that note that's inspiring, I got a pinboard over here with a lot of old school names. Here's one right here. Hold
on. Okay.
This is great for podcasting. Check this out. One of your old school stickers.
Oh, geez. Oh, my God. Let's go. The old school ODPH. That is a collection right there. Oh, my God.
I know I've got the mug or whatever, where I put the mug on it every so often too. But yeah, that's one of the old school ones.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I gotta get you a new one though. I mean, granted, we haven't updated the one. I mean, the one that's hanging behind me here.
Yeah,
that's been the one we've kept. I think that's gonna be the permanent one. Like, we don't have to really change that one. But oh my God, I haven't seen that logo in forever. That's amazing. Yeah. Love it.
I've got some really good ones for your reference, and just so many.
Shout out to them.
Yeah.
KT and Odie they're doing big things out in
I was actually just DMing her maybe a couple weeks ago at this point, just saying like, I am so incredibly proud of you guys. I remember back in the days when we'd be sharing Deadwood memes together, and now you know, you're interviewing some really amazing people, and that's cool. Yeah,
they've blown up so big. I'm so happy for I haven't talked to them in forever, but I don't think they're on Twitter anymore, so I don't know.
That's frankly, our Twitter is pretty much automated from Threads. Threads is where we've really found a home. And so like Instagram, sure, but like Threads is like where we're thriving. So it's hard. Yeah. Twitter's been tough.
I hear you. Like Twitter, I literally just post a link and go. It's just not been this name. And like the tough thing for us is like we do a lot with the comic book creators. And it's like, it's 3 spots we have to track everybody down with: Threads, Blue Sky, and Twitter. And like, it's always a juggling act if we can find everybody. I really like Threads. I just haven't been on it because it's like social media now has been so weird. and like trying to get interaction is tough, and trying like genuine interaction, not like, hey, here's my link, read my book.
Right. Yeah.
But it's just like trying to build that in. Like I say, I know we mentioned earlier, but like Megan from Vigilante Vibes understands like everything there is to about it. And she's always a great person to follow about like interacting with. And I try jumping in there when I can. It's just like, it's such a weird environment there, but I do like Threads. I hope that really blows up. Like it's been interesting thus far about like how they do with the hashtags and getting rid of that and such. But yeah, it's just it's just a matter of like trying to find everybody, because like I said, once podcast Twitter faded away, of all the things, the pod fade, it was podcast Twitter. What you call it? It's been tough trying to find everybody, except there's certain shows that'll stay on there till the end of time, and there's certain ones that have gravitated towards other platforms, and it's always the ever changing thing. But it's always great catching up though with those shows. And like I say, For Your Reference is an amazing show too.
Yeah. Yeah, Threads is really fun, and what I've realized over there, like the key to them is as natural as possible. Anything, it's weird to say, TikTok's the same way in a lot of sense, which irritates me. But if you put too much effort into it, it ain't gonna do well. You gotta just like, here's a post to Peacemaker, like, hey, well, I'm watching Peacemaker right now. How dope was that one scene? And that will be what builds your community. And it's like, that feels more natural. That feels like what social media was supposed to be in the first place.
Yeah, no, that's something I miss, because like I say, I usually don't see it. Unfortunately, like maybe it's my feed and my algorithm. I don't know. Like I just like I miss stuff like that. Just like the general interactions. Like I say, those accounts, they're the ones I still I jump in, at least heart it if I have time, I'll write something. But like I try at least that, because it's just like it's just such a weird landscape these days.
It really is, and it's changed so much over time. Ken, I've got 100 more questions, but I think we probably should wrap it up there. I could go for hours. Thank you so much for joining me today, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, man, thank you so much. Definitely have to do this again soon sometime, man. This is always a pleasure catching up.
All right, so let's go over our network news. So over on Challenge Accepted, we're going to be doing the Bob's Burgers Thanksgiving specials. We're going to try to rank all of them. Over at Outlast Podcast, we are post-merge now, so things are really starting to heat up. And I actually got a comment back from Sophie with an I, so I'm very happy with myself.
Wow.
We'll be sharing that on the next Outlast Podcast. This is
By the way, I love listening to the Outlast Podcast.
Thank you.
It's really good to go with watching the show.
So what it was is on Twitter, no, on TikTok, she's putting out a thing like, people don't like me or whatever. And I'm like, and then I told her, and I said, look, on my podcast, we have to draft our favorites. You and Alex are my favorites. I like you. You're doing a great job. Just like you pick well and stuff like that. So I was like, hell yeah, I do. Okay. So over at Distance Nerding, they're trying out a new short form videos. They have Graveyard, who's one of their hosts, who's very, very intelligent person, and is a aficionado in horror. And so he just did a video kind of breaking down a horror topic, and it's something they're going to be trying out to do more and more. So check out their YouTube channel, guys. Give them feedback on this, what you think they should improve on, and what other topics you want them to discuss. I gave them a list of things I think that they could do to kind of tighten it up a little bit. Very, very good stuff. Phantom Portals is at the end of their flop tournament. And so we talked about, movie flops, and that was one of our questions. And man, I'm kind of surprised by how many of those movies I liked. Brothers Grimm, that's a fun movie, but it's a flop that they, so Sahara, there's a lot of ones that are like, oh yeah, Treasure Planet's the one that's in the lead right now. And I was like, yeah, that's a classic. That's a good one. Disney Mom's Gone Wrong just finished Tangled, so make sure you guys check that out and revisit Tangled. They're making that into a live action, so it's a good time to revisit the animated version of it.
There you go.
Jonathan, what's your recommendation for the week?
So my recommendation actually came from Challenge Accepted. I saw a TikTok where Thomas was talking about Pluribus, and I was like, oh man, that looks good. I saw the trailer. I didn't realize it was actually out yet. So last night I watched the first episode. Damn, it was good.
Is it okay? I'm watching it today. Yeah. So
it was the whole episode is getting the premise started, and learning kind of the mechanics and how this kind of works. And it all felt like a full zombie movie.
Man, that's cool.
If you haven't seen the trailer, aliens brainwash America.
Even when I'm working with Thomas or watching Thomas's video, about halfway through, it's like, I got to stop watching Thomas's video. He's giving away too much. I want to see this first, but then I'll go back to it.
It is good. But I think the directing, the way it's done, it's super suspenseful. It makes you like, you're hanging. Like I was so tired. I stayed up till like 9:30. I usually go to bed at 8, but I was like, no, I gotta watch.
man.
I gotta watch the whole thing. But no, it definitely kept my attention the whole time. So check out Pluribus. I'm hoping
made by the same people who made
good.
Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
Better Call Saul. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's tight.
What you got? What's your recommendation?
My recommendation. So I have Pluribus as like I need to watch that today. But here's a weird ass show, guys. I'm gonna be real frank with you. But Tim Robbins, that tells you how weird it is. The Chair Company, and it's on HBO, and it's like I was telling people on social media, like this is the weirdest show that I'm going to recommend to all my friends. It starts off with this guy who's kind of just middle management, whatever. They're opening a mall in this whatever town, Canton, Ohio, and he during like one of the speeches or whatever, he sits down in a chair and it breaks, and everybody laughs at him and stuff like that. And so he's kind of pissed off about it, but it's like, it's whatever. Everybody laughs at him. So he looks up the company, Tekka is his company. And then he finds out, wait, Tekka doesn't exist. That's weird. And so he ends up kind of uncovering a gigantic conspiracy theory. And all he wants to do is for somebody to apologize for his chair breaking on stage and embarrassing him. Dang. Meanwhile, one of my favorite side plots is when he fell over, he kind of like looked under this lady's dress. And so now HR is involved. Because she's like, because she comes in, she's like, look, I think it was probably an accident. I think it was an accident, you know? And he's like, what are you talking about? The chair broke. And she's like, I know. I'm sure you wouldn't have done that on purpose. And stuff. But now HR's in there. And like, they went to high school together. And he's like, yeah, she was kind of a, loser in high school. We didn't hang out or whatever. But then there was a picture of them in the yearbook in this latest episode where he had his arm around her because they took a big cast photo of the play. Like, so there might have been a past relationship. So we have to explore this more. He's like, what are you talking about? And guys, it's so fun and weird and silly. And the whole time you're like, this chair company's going to come and kill him. Man, this is crazy.
And his expressions too. I looked him up like Tim Robbins. So there's also Tim Robbins that was on like Shawshank Redemption stuff, right?
Tim
like
Robinson. Maybe I'm getting it wrong.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah, Tim Robinson. Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen him in other bits, and wasn't he in SNL or something like that for a while?
He used to be in SNL back in the day. He was very good back in SNL. He has his own show on Netflix. This is just kind of the next thing. And if you like his comedy, this is pure his comedy, where sometimes it's just a little bit awkward and you're like, what was that? But you're like laughing the whole time. It is so great. Yeah. Where, God, I can't even explain all the fun bits. There's one part where this guy's like spying on him and goes to threaten him. And then he finds out the guy who's like been waiting for him. He chases this guy down, and the whole time the guy's running, he's unbuttoning his shirt. And you're like, why is he unbuttoning his shirt? So then Tim Robinson catches up to him, grabs his shirt, and the guy like takes his shirt off as he's running, and like drops it behind him, and he's just holding the guy's shirt now. And the guy's running half naked through the. And was he planning on that? How'd that happen?
That's a strategy.
Yeah.
There was the movie or show where someone's like getting naked and greasing themselves up, and they're like, "You're not gonna try to catch a naked guy, are you?" Or something like that. You're not gonna fight a naked guy.
So it's a really funny, weird show that if you like him, you like this show. That's really good. Yeah. Oh man. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for hanging out with us. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.